Hey everybody, it's Atheist for the Cause here with another article review, and this one is about Trump pitching Republican leaders on a solar panel border wall. Doesn't surprise me too much. Trump has never been against green energy. He's for all forms of energy, but he wants, economic viability is number one to him. So he wants to make sure that whatever we are doing is economically viable. He's cut subsidies by 70% to green energy because he doesn't want unfair subsidies basically pushing green energy into, in before it's viable, and making it widespread before it's really economically viable. And the Democrats, they're much more for pushing the subsidies, so it's kind of a different approach. But it doesn't mean that the Republicans or Trump are completely against green energy. You can say whatever about the Republicans, but Trump is not your standard Republican either. So, in the meeting at the White House today with Republican congressional leaders, President Trump spent some time talking up his latest idea for the border wall. According to three people with direct knowledge of the meeting, Trump floated the idea of the wall could be covered in solar panels and the electricity generated used to pay for the cost. Trump said his vision was a wall 40 feet to 50 feet high and covered with solar panels, so they'd be beautiful structures, the people said. That sounds like Trump. The president, 40 to 50 feet tall, I think that's what he said. Or no, he said something like 30 feet on the campaign trail, so this is even higher than that. The president said that most walls you hear about are 14 or 15 feet tall, but this would be nothing like those walls. Trump told the lawmakers they could talk about the solar paneled wall as long as they said it was his idea. Also sounds like Trump. One person cautioned that the president wasn't presenting the solar paneled wall as the definitive solution. Well, this sounds like a good idea to me. I don't know all the details, and maybe it's not viable when you come down to the details, but I think we need to start asking how something like this can happen instead of asking if it can happen. And that's how I think we can create the innovation to make something like this happen. And by the way, I don't think 14 or 15 feet tall is high enough. I think that's something that people can get over. 30 feet is much more viable, but 40 or 50 feet, that's going to be really tough to get over. Trump told the lawmakers they could, where this idea might come from. A proposal to cover the wall with solar panels was among those submitted when the U.S. requested designs earlier this year, according to the AP. Companies winning contracts and asked to build prototypes may be announced this month. And I've actually read that there were 2 solar panel wall ideas, and the fact that there are solar panel wall ideas out there and that it's not just coming from Trump, these are actual bids, shows that it probably is more viable than it's made out to be by some Democrats that don't want to give Trump credit for anything. What else was discussed? The majority of the meeting focused on healthcare. Trump started off by saying the base was stronger than ever now, and it was time come through for them. It was time to come through for them. Sorry. He asked Mitch McConnell when the bill would be ready, and McConnell said the bill would be released soon and scored by the CBO and voted on before July 4th. Everyone agreed June would be spent talking about the failures of the Obama health care bill. So outside of the wall, they're talking about health care, and they're also talking about the debt ceiling. So I've also read, I'll post a bunch of different articles. I'm not going to cover them all. This does a really good job of summarizing everything, but I've read that Trump has gotten $20 million in funding for a wall, but he needs around $20 billion, and he's asking for around $1.5 million, or $1.5 billion as a down payment. So he doesn't have close to that, but then in another article said that there was no funding at all for it. So either there is no funding or very limited funding for a wall at this point. But basically, this would allow us to collect energy and then sell it to either Mexico or give it to the people of the United States. And from what the article here says, that the wall could pay for itself within 20 years. And that's quite interesting, even if it took 30 years to pay for itself. I have no problem, with the government putting a lot of money into something that in the end is going to cover its own costs, as long as it actually does cover its own costs. And I think this really makes Democrats look bad when they oppose the wall, and the wall is a green energy producer. It's one of the best ways to get the wall through. It's one of the best ways to pay for the wall. It's actually, Trump can still argue that he's making Mexico pay for it if they're selling that energy to Mexico, because ever since the meme started, who's gonna pay for it? Mexico. It's never really been 100% that it would be directly paying for it. He always said that he could put tariffs on, he could do all sorts of things, that he could tax people that come here from Mexico. There were lots of ideas that he had to even indirectly pay for it. And, selling energy to Mexico from the border wall would literally be Mexico indirectly paying for the wall. So it would cover Trump's back for his campaign promise. Also, this 40 to 50 feet high wall, the wall would actually be thicker. And I guess I'll click this article to show you. The wall would actually be thicker than expected, and they have a plan to bury fiber inside the wall and underground, I think, as well. So there were, some pretty cool ideas. Some other ideas were like they wanted to make this wall where they'd basically create a whole, I guess, village, I'd call it, and the village would have museums and things like that for people to go in, and I'm guessing that would raise money through tourism, and it'd basically be one huge tourist proposal. Something I saw on Twitter was people wanted names scribed on the wall for people who were killed by illegal immigrants. I don't know. I don't think that would ever happen, but then another proposal was the nuclear waste proposal, where they would dig go 100 feet deep and bury nuclear waste from nuclear power plants. And I don't know, that sounds not viable to me, especially because there's fault lines somewhere near that area. So I don't think I like that idea. Artwork on both sides of the wall, I think that should happen. Even if we put solar panels on, towards the bottom there will probably be no solar panels, and I think we should load it up with art. If we are going to put a wall, and we want to make it obvious that the wall is not closing ourselves off to the outside, and the best way to do that is to make it very artful, turn it into a tourist attraction. And so maybe we can combine, the tourist attraction, the artwork idea, and the solar panel idea. You combine all these into one, and you have a pretty cool wall that it doesn't actually keep people out. It is inviting the people, but legally it keeps illegals out. But legally, people want to come to actually see the wall. So that's all I have for now. I'm going to be posting a bunch of articles about this, and you can see this is actually a trap for the Democrats, because if Trump can follow through with this and make it happen, it does show that he is pushing the Republican Party into a better direction. It does show that well, from my perspective, a better direction anyways. It does show that he's different than, you know, the old Republican Party that was becoming out of touch. You know, the Republican establishment was becoming out of touch with the average person. And it shows that, like, you know, Democrats basically are anti-Trump no matter what he does, because even with a green energy producer, they're still in the wall. They're still opposing it and trying to make Trump sound like an idiot. And the more they say that, oh, you can't put all these solar panels on this wall, it's just not viable. And then if he goes and does it, who sounds like the progressive at that point? You have the progressives saying that you can't do something, and you have Trump driving innovation forward. And at that point, the progressives look regressive, which is the meme anyways, and Trump looks like the innovator. So I would just caution Democrats, you know, at some point it's okay to compliment Trump. At some point you can get on board and come to a compromise. That's actually what the people want, and the people won't punish the Democratic Party for getting on board with a wall that is actually producing green energy and meets many other Democratic goals. So, but if the Democrats just try to stifle the wall, they fail, and it was green energy it turns out to be this great green energy producer, it's just going to be a disaster for the Democrats. So I know they feel backed into a corner, but they better reassess the situation, because it's not as dire as they think, and there's a huge opportunity here. So hopefully Trump and the Republicans come through, the Democrats get on board, and we have a bipartisan wall. I mean, how amazing would that be? So we have to start asking ourselves, how can we do these cool new things? And by the way, in these articles, it's saying that there's recently been some new technology that has dropped the cost of solar in the region. So that's also making this wall idea more viable. But I'll talk to you guys later.